At just 25 years old, he signed a $200 million bonus check, a single payday bigger than the entire annual budget of AC Milan. His net worth is racing toward $1 billion, and every week he earns more than some squads cost to assemble. But Mbappe's story isn't just about goals, it's about money, power, and a Galactico lifestyle so extreme even billionaires take notes. A $200 million signing bonus, a $100 million salary every single year, and a fortune so massive that entire nations run on less. With it came a life built for kings, palaces in Paris and Madrid, Ferraris and Lamborghinis so rare that royal families wait years just to get them. Even a private jet clause in his contract, the kind of perk usually reserved for presidents. But here's the twist. This empire didn't begin in palaces. It began in the concrete towers of Bondy, where a boy with nothing but a ball and a dream would rewrite what it means to be a superstar. Love him or hate him, you cannot ignore him, because Mbappé isn't just living rich, he's becoming football's first billion-dollar Galactico. Before the $200 million bonuses and private jet clauses, there was Bondy, a suburb where streetlights flickered, stairwells were scarred with graffiti, and families prayed the power wouldn't be cut before morning. In one cramped apartment, a skinny boy named Kylian Mbappé shared a bedroom with his brother. His father, a youth coach, his mother, a former handball player. They gave everything, but money was scarce. Some nights, with the lights gone, Mbappé studied football clips by candlelight while his friends played video games he couldn't afford. Yet on the streets, everyone knew. The ball stuck to his feet like it was tied by string. Kids in Bondy traded sneakers. But one day, Mbappé would earn contracts that could buy those skyscrapers outright. By 11, scouts were already whispering. Some said he was worth more than entire youth teams. At 14, he trained at Clairefontaine, France's legendary academy. By 16, he was dazzling for Monaco, and his first signing bonus alone could have bought every apartment in his old building. The boy who once couldn't afford new cleats was suddenly the most expensive teenager in football history, and that first fortune launched a money machine the world had never seen. At just 16 years old, Kylian Mbappé wasn't just stepping onto the pitch, he was smashing records once held by Thierry Henry. His debut for AS Monaco made him the youngest first-team player in the club's history. But the real shock wasn't just on the field. It was in his bank account. His first signing bonus alone could have bought out his entire Bondy neighborhood. For the kids still trading sneakers back home, Mbappé had become living proof that the impossible was real. And then came the brands. By 18, Nike made him one of their youngest global ambassadors. Before he even had a driver's license, he was sliding into a limited edition Mercedes worth more than his teachers earned in a year. In 2017, he dragged Monaco all the way to the Champions League semifinals, knocking out Manchester City in the process. Suddenly, the world wasn't whispering his name, they were shouting it. By 18, he wasn't just a wonder kid, he was the most expensive teenager in football history, valued at nearly $200 million. Analysts and fans alike called it the Mbappé Monaco moment, the point where football's money machine truly exploded. But Monaco could never hold him. The Sharks were circling, the world's richest clubs were ready to break football, and soon Paris would make him their crown prince. In 2017, football shattered its limits. Paris Saint-Germain didn't just buy Kylian Mbappé, they smashed the world transfer record, paying nearly $200 million to crown him the most expensive teenager in history. That single fee was larger than the entire annual budget of most League One clubs combined. Overnight, the boy from Bondy became the crown prince of Paris. His salary, more than $20 million a year, before bonuses or sponsorships. And that was only the beginning. With that paycheck came a new life. A private chef, where each meal cost more than his family once spent in a week. Front row at Fashion Week, seated with supermodels and designers. 15,000 euros a night luxury hotels, the kind usually reserved for royalty and Hollywood elites. In Paris, Mbappé wasn't just a footballer, he was a global celebrity brand, plastered on billboards, the face of FIFA's video game cover, and the star of Nike and Hublot campaigns. Every goal didn't just roar through the Parc des Princes, it triggered bonus clauses worth millions and cemented his status as the future of football. But Paris was never meant to be his forever throne, because while PSG PSG made him a prince, Mbappé was chasing something bigger, and in Madrid, the richest club in the world was waiting, ready to crown him king. In 2018, the world witnessed a coronation. At just 19 years old, Kylian Mbappé wasn't just playing in his first World Cup. He was rewriting football history. His speed, his goals, his fearlessness lit up Russia, and by the final, he became the youngest player since Pelé to score on football's biggest stage. With that single strike, the boy from Bondy was crowned a global king. But here's the shock. Every goal didn't just make history, it triggered bonus clauses worth millions. Some reports say up to $500,000 per goal, unlocked sponsorship deals, and sent his net worth skyrocketing toward the hundreds of millions. Overnight, Mbappé became one of the most marketable athletes alive. Nike didn't just sign him, they locked him into a lifetime deal, the kind of contract only icons like Michael Jordan and LeBron James ever touch. Hublot, Dior, and Oakley lined up. EA Sports put him on the cover of FIFA. The very game he once played inside those Bondy apartments now had his face on it. The 2018 World Cup didn't just make Mbappé a champion, it turned him into a billionaire brand in the making. And then came 2022, a final against Lionel Messi, a hat trick in the biggest game of all. It was Messi's trophy, but Mbappé's final, the first hat trick in a World Cup final in 56 years. That hat trick on the biggest stage proved the heir to football's throne had arrived, but even World Cup glory wasn't enough, because Madrid wasn't just calling, they were preparing to drop the biggest signing bonus in football history. By 2024, the whispers became reality. Real Madrid, the richest club in football, finally got their man, and they didn't just sign Mbappé, they detonated football's economy. The contract? Reports say a $200 million signing bonus with a salary north of $100 million per year. One player, one deal, almost worth more than the entire wage bills of clubs he would face in La Liga. And with Madrid came perks reserved for Galacticos. A $20 million luxury villa in the Spanish capital. A private box at the Santiago Bernabeu, less a seat, more a palace overlooking football's grandest stage, and a private jet clause inked into his contract. The kind of perk no footballer in history had ever dared to demand. Madrid didn't just buy a footballer, they bought a global brand. The boy from Bondy was no longer Paris's crown prince. He was stepping into the same throne once occupied by Cristiano Ronaldo, Zidane, and the Galacticos before him. But here's the shock, this still wasn't the peak of Mbappé's empire, because behind the goals, the contracts, and the record-breaking bonuses was a lifestyle of palaces, cars, and toys that made him football's ultimate billionaire icon. Concrete towers of Bondy, the palaces where CEOs, politicians, and royals are now his neighbors. Mbappé's real estate empire is a flex as loud as his contracts. In Paris, he lived in a multi-million-dollar mansion fitted with an indoor basketball court, a swimming pool, and panoramic views of the Eiffel Tower. The rent alone, over $40,000 a month, more than his entire childhood neighborhood earned in a year. In Madrid, reports say he purchased a $20 million villa in the city's most exclusive district, La Finca, the same neighborhood once home to Cristiano Ronaldo and Gareth Bale. Behind its gates, multiple pools, private gyms, a cinema room, and a garage large enough to swallow his fleet of supercars. Then come the escapes, a cliffside villa in the south of France, where one night costs more than an average family's yearly rent. And in Miami, rumors swirl of a condo in the Porsche Design Tower, one of only 132 residences in the world where owners park Ferraris and glass elevators beside their living rooms. Every property isn't just a home, it's a monument. The boy who once shared a cramped bedroom with his brother now owns palaces with more bathrooms than families in his old block. And outside those gates, that's where the true madness of Mbappé's wealth roars to life. A fleet of cars, jets, and toys that only billionaires can dream of. If Mbappe's palaces are monuments, then his car collection is a museum of speed, with exhibits worth more than some football clubs. At its heart sits a Ferrari 488 Pista, worth over $500,000. Beside it, a Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon customized by Brabus, the kind rappers and royalty wait months to secure. And then comes the crown jewel, a Ferrari SF 90 Stradale, one of only 499 ever built worldwide, pushing $1 million price tag. But that's just the start. His garage stacks like a billionaire's toy box. Audis, Range Rovers, Volkswagens gifted to family, and Lamborghinis parked side by side. Together, Mbappe's car collection tops $3 million, more than the cost of building entire football academies. And it doesn't stop at cars. Off the coast of the south of France, he vacations on chartered yachts costing $100,000 a week, floating nightclubs with jacuzzis, jet skis, and party decks built for excess. Then there's the sky. Mbappe's PSG contract reportedly included a private jet clause, something no other footballer of his generation has ever had in writing, ensuring he could fly wherever, whenever, like a head of state. Whether it's quick hops to Monaco or long hauls to Miami, Mbappe travels as if borders don't exist. Every car, every yacht, every jet isn't just transport, they're trophies. Proof that the boy who once couldn't afford new cleats now lives like royalty. But here's the twist. These toys weren't just for play. They carried him to parties so extravagant, they became as legendary as his gold. If Mbappe's cars and jets turned heads, his parties burned through fortunes big enough to fund entire football clubs. In Paris, while teammates recovered after matches, Mbappe was rumored to rent out entire nightclubs, tabs that rivaled the yearly budget of small League One clubs. One weekend bill alone was whispered to cost more than his first professional salary at Monaco. Birthdays? Legendary. For his 21st, he reportedly flew in international DJs, the kind who charge $1 million a night, locked down venues and filled guest lists that read like Hollywood red carpets. Each event guarded by dozens of security staff, sometimes more than 100 people just to contain the chaos. And the bills? French media claimed one birthday party alone crossed 500,000 euros, whispers of 20,000 euro champagne bottles, and nights that didn't end until sunrise, with entourages moving through Paris like royalty. But it isn't just Paris. In the south of France, Mbappe has hosted cliffside summer blowouts, fireworks over the Mediterranean, yachts on standby, and parties so loud they landed in the morning papers. Of course, critics circle. They call it distraction. They question if nightlife pulls him from football. But here's the twist. Those same parties, they feed his Instagram empire hundreds of millions of followers, more than the populations of France, Spain, and Italy combined. For sponsors, that chaos isn't a liability, it's gold. And yet, as wild as the parties are, they aren't Mbappe's biggest flex, because the most expensive thing he owns isn't a car, a jet, or a villa. It's something far bigger. After the palaces, after the cars, after the jets and the million-dollar parties, there's still one thing that dwarfs them all, because Mbappe's greatest asset isn't parked in a garage, it isn't moored on the French Riviera, and it isn't hidden behind the gates of a Madrid villa. It's his name. Mbappe has become one of the most valuable brands in world sport. Nike didn't just sign him, they locked him into a lifetime deal, the kind of contract only icons like Michael Jordan and LeBron James ever touch. Hublot made him their global ambassador. Dior placed him at the center of luxury campaigns. Oakley, EA Sports, even crypto firms, all lined up to attach themselves to his aura. Then there's Instagram. With over 110 million followers, Mbappe's posts reach audiences larger than the entire populations of France and Spain combined. A single photo, worth hundreds of thousands. A campaign, millions. In fact, one sponsored post can earn him more than the average League One player makes in an entire year. His digital empire is so valuable that analysts estimate Mbappé Inc. is approaching the $1 billion mark, pushing his net worth into uncharted territory for a 26-year-old footballer. The boy who once studied football clips by candlelight in Bondy now runs a $1 billion brand. Because Mbappe's most expensive possession isn't something you can touch. It's an empire built on fame, influence, and the power of one word, Mbappé. But here's the real question. When the boots are hung up and the lights fade, what will last longer? The goals, the trophies, or the brand? From the concrete towers of Bondy, to Monaco's teenage millionaire, to Paris's $200 million prince, to Madrid's $300 million Galactico, Kylian Mbappe's story has never been just about football. It's been about fortune, fame, and a lifestyle so outrageous it turned him into a billion-dollar brand before the age of 25. For some, he's the future GOAT. The boy compared to Pelé, who carried France to a World Cup, became the first player in 56 years to score a hat trick in a World Cup final, and shattered records with every step. For others, he's proof that modern football isn't just about goals. It's about power, contracts, and bonuses worth more than some nation's entire sports budgets. And maybe that's what makes Mbappé unforgettable, because when the goals fade, when the trophies gather dust, what will history remember? The speed, the World Cup hat trick, or the $200 million deals, private jet clauses, and the empire built on his name? Even if the contracts fade and the brand loses value, the question will always remain: will Mbappé be remembered as a football legend or its richest rebel king? Drop your answer below. The debate has only just begun. This is the Elite's Vault, where legends are unlocked, secrets revealed, and fortunes exposed. Subscribe now, because the vault only opens for those inside.